So the new iPad Pro 2020 12.9-inch iPad has been out for a couple of weeks now. I'm a hand lettering artist, a logo designer, graphic designer, and I make videos online. So technically I use my iPad a lot for hand lettering, taking notes, drawing, and general design work. The iPad has been something that I've used for many years, and anyone who's a fan of the channel knows that I use the iPad a lot. So whenever a new iPad comes to the market, I'm always one of the first, and the first thing I do is purchase it, because I know that if it's not something that I want to upgrade, then I can easily send it back. Now, when I first purchased the last generation 3 of the iPad Pro, I was obviously really excited. This generation introduced a new design to the iPad where they thinned out the bezels, but not only that, they got rid of the home button as well, and it had a sort of new look. It became a pro looking device. A little background on some of the purchasing decisions that I make. I have a iMac, which I do a lot of my video editing on, my design work. I do also have a really high-end PC. I have an iPhone, an Apple Watch, and an iPad, and I've had every iteration of the iPad Pro so far. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a look into my purchasing habits so you guys can make your own mind up. But this video is my review, the designer's review of the iPad Pro 2020. This video is brought to you by Paperson. As I said before, the iPad Pro allows technology to fit me and not for me to fit it. If you don't know, drawing has become a breeze ever since the first iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil functionality. Last year's model, which looks exactly the same as this year's, allowed me to have a better pencil for the iPad, which allowed a different input method to change tools, which was very nicely given as a feature, and it was another feature stacked up on another feature, stacked up onto more speed. The iPad is fast. Now, this new iPad obviously does have different chipsets. It's even faster than last year's, but that does not necessarily mean I can see the speed improvements. This is where it becomes the designer's review, because I don't game on my iPad. I don't really browse or surf the internet. I do emails on my iPad because it's just easier and I've always got it in front of me. I draw a lot. I use design software like Procreate and Adobe Fresco and Photoshop on my iPad, and so far I have not yet seen a speed improvement or a performance update. There was an actual tweet from Procreate, Savage the developers, saying they don't know whether they can add more layers into a document because of the more RAM and the more power inside of the new iPad, but this would be welcome. I've had this iPad for a couple of weeks now, and I've left the review for a bit longer because I wanted to really use the iPad and I wanted to get comfortable with it. And that was a breeze because obviously it's exactly the same as the old generation, but wait, what is different about this new iPad? Well, in reality, the only difference to this new iPad is the new camera setup at the back. It's got a new ultra-wide camera lens at the back, which allows you to take ultra-wide photographs or video on your iPad, which to me hasn't got much use. I mean, yeah, it is good for like documents, because I do own a company, being able to get the documents up and start to make them into a PDF. Things like that work well with me, but that's really all I could really think about doing, as well as measuring out what's in a room. Now, when you look at the back of the iPad, you may think that it's got 3 cameras because it's got 3 of those circular lens type shapes. Well, it's not 3 camera setup, it's actually 2 cameras, one basically normal camera, an ultra wide lens, and something called a LiDAR scanner. Now, LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging. So basically it's kind of similar to a projector that works out what's in a room. You see cars using it, like smart cars like Tesla, and different automobile companies in the tech industry using it so it can map out the roads and map out what's in a room. The LiDAR scanner is very good, but why have Apple got it in there? Now, this is where I've got the question. During this review, when have I ever used the LiDAR scanner? I have not, and that's because probably I'm a designer. I don't do augmented reality, even though it's becoming more of a trend in the design industry. I just don't do it. It's not part of who I am or what I do. Does that mean it's bad having a LiDAR scanner? No, not at all. I think the LiDAR scanner is a cool thing to have inside of the iPad for future use. go on to the speed improvements. Have I actually seen any speed improvements? Yes, I actually have, and this could be just down to me thinking I have. So it could be placebo, but I have seen very minor speed improvements. Now, I'm not too worried about this, and I'm not too disappointed either. The number one reason as to why I'm not disappointed is because app developers need time to update their apps to take advantage of the new speed improvement that you can have. Also, the new range of improvements they can make to the apps because it's more powerful. A lot of people aren't looking like this into the iPad Pro when they're reviewing it, but for us designers, we can be heavily based on software. So this means that software such as Photoshop, maybe Adobe Fresco, maybe Procreate will in fact have more features coming in the future because of the new speed improvements in the new iPad, and developers have a bit more wiggle room in making things more powerful. The easiest way of me giving you a review of the new iPad is by listing you some pros and cons and then concluding it at the end for anyone who's thinking about the iPad and whether you should get one too. The first pro, it's lightweight. I mean, it's been lightweight since last year, but it hasn't changed any of the weights, I don't believe. And if it has, it's barely noticeable. You can't even feel it. So it's more lightweight and powerful. Now, a con to that is that it's the exact same design aside from the camera module at the back where you've got the LiDAR scanner. There's nothing much different. It's kind of like the iPhone 11 equivalent. So there's nothing really different about it, just that camera module at the back. There's no different colors you can get for the iPad Pro, nothing like that. So you might be slightly disappointed with that. The screen technology is still good. So I'm going to put that as a pro because I love the iPad screen. But again, it's just still the same design. There's nothing different. And that's something to be expected. Apple will not just keep updating a design, especially when a design works very well. But another con that we have about the design is that it's still very easily bendable. Now, I've not bent my iPad, the 3rd generation or the new 4th generation. I take quite good care of it, even though it's in one of the Apple cases, which doesn't provide much protection from bending. You see, the iPad is quite an expensive investment, so I don't want it to break in my backpack when it's designed for mobility. Another pro is that it's very fast. It's faster than a lot of laptops that you'll see out on the market now, and you should never really run into performance issues with an iPad. You get what you pay for. The iPad is still king of all tablets, so if you're looking for an iPad Pro or a good tablet even, the iPad Pro would be the best for you. A con is the LiDAR scanner. It hasn't got much application use yet. You can play Pokemon Go on it, or see what kind of furniture you would like in the office or in your house, but that's kind of it. You could do that on the old one, but it's just been updated with a LiDAR scanner to make it even better. Apparently the new iPad has increased battery life, and I've actually seen that in my new iPad that I bought, but this could also be down to the fact that my old iPad was used very heavily, and the apps that were using it were probably draining the battery so fast, and because it was an old battery. But yeah, there is a battery improvement. I could have just got the old battery replaced, I think, in the old iPad to make it faster or to run or have better battery life. But you know what I mean. It's basically an old iPad. You can never be too certain whether the battery life is actually better in the new one, although it does seem that way. A massive pro for anyone who wants to buy an iPad now is that the pricing has changed for the storage options. So iPad Pros normally go from 64 to a terabyte or something like that in actual storage. Well, now they don't do 64 models anymore. They do the 128, which means that if you're buying the baseline model of the iPad, it's basically the same price, but you're getting double the storage if you're buying the baseline. So everything's gotten a bit cheaper, I believe. Now, something that I haven't talked about much is something called the Magic Keyboard. Now, this is a keyboard that Apple have introduced online as one of the features for the new iPad, but it also works in the old iPad. This Magic Keyboard is basically a keyboard with a trackpad. The iPad Pro now actually supports Magic Mouse and Magic Trackpad input, so you can use a cursor, and it's very well designed, and I've got more about that on a video that I did in my impressions where I used it. Have I used it since? I have. I tried it, and it actually does work really well for what it is, but we need more apps, and we need more developers to create apps with this functionality, such as, I don't know, Photoshop or video editing software on the iPad like LumaFusion. I would like to see a bit more intuition coming to the input method of using a trackpad or a mouse. The only problem is the iPad is shipped without the Magic Keyboard, so I can't review it to you, but it looks good and it doesn't stop me thinking about getting one, because I will get one. The price point is about £300, which is for a keyboard, it's ridiculous, but the mouse and the trackpad support is good. A con to anyone who likes the exclusivity of having one feature on a newer model is that the Magic Mouse and trackpad can be used on older iPad models as well, including generation 3 of the iPad Pro, and the Magic Keyboard can be used there. So that's kind of a con to people who are buying the new one or upgrading their old one to the new iPad. And again, another pro is the new camera lens, which I won't be using very often. So the conclusion of this really is that the iPad Pro hasn't changed very much. And as a designer, I don't see the need for me to upgrade. And that might just be because of the timing we're in right now. By that, I mean, it's all about increasing the power of the iPad so that more app developers can create powerful apps. Is this happening? Most probably, but we won't know until a few months down the line. And in all honesty, sometimes I don't even notice the difference between me using the new one to the old generation 3 iPad Pro, which is pretty good when you think about it for anyone who's using the iPad Pro generation 3. So as a designer, would I recommend this iPad Pro to other designers to buy and to upgrade? Well, this is where it gets a bit technical, but I've got a situation for you where you would like to upgrade. If you have bought the iPad Pro generation 3, so the one that looks exactly the same as the new one, then you should not even think about getting the new one yet. And that is because a lot of people are saying Apple are releasing a new iPad and a new iPad design later on this year or the start of next year. So I would hold out again for another year. You're not going to see much of an improvement to your workflow, especially not $1,000 worth of improvement. Unless you are someone who works in augmented reality where you need that LiDAR scanner for a specific purpose for work. But if you're someone who's got the generation number 1 or number 2 of the iPad Pro and you're looking to upgrade because your model is getting kind of slow, then now is the best time to buy it. And I wouldn't even go for the iPad Pro generation 3, I would jump to the newest one, simply because you get more storage for your money. It starts off at 128 gigabytes instead of the 64, so technically you're getting it cheaper and you're getting more storage. Who doesn't like more storage? So if you're a designer out there who is anticipating apps to use the mouse and keyboard with the new iPad, then don't worry. If you have generation 2, 3, you won't even notice really a difference yet. But I'm holding myself on that because I'm hoping that in the coming months, app developers will release powerful updates that will really utilize the power inside of the new iPad Pro. This video is brought to you by Paperlike. Now, if you've seen in my video, you probably see that I've got a screen protector on my iPad, and a lot of you ask the questions, do I have a screen protector on my iPad? Well, yes, I do. This screen protector is a Paperlike screen protector, and it's like no other screen protector. The Paperlike allows me to have a Paperlike experience whilst drawing on my iPad, which is a huge thing. I spend most of my time drawing on an iPad, so having the fact that I can draw inside it makes it a ton easier and makes it feel more like paper than it ever has done before. Paperlike is super easy to install, and it's for anyone who wants the paper experience, who doesn't like to draw on glass, because everyone knows how uncomfortable drawing on glass is. If you'd like your own Paperlike, then please click the link down below in the description so you can get your hands on a Paperlike and try it for yourself. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you would like to be so generous to subscribe, then you can do. It's that big red button down below which you can press, making sure you turn on all post notifications so you never miss a video when I upload one. Are you buying the new iPad, or are you just sticking with your old one? Let me know down below in the comments. I want to see a conversation happening down there at the end of this. So thanks for watching. Have a good one. Have fun drawing. See you later. Bye.